Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. I'm Cameron Songer, joined now by UNCP track and field head coach Peter Ormsby. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're already 4 meets deep into the indoor portion of the 2015-2016 schedule. Other than the obvious, what are some of the major differences between indoor and outdoor track, especially from a preparation standpoint?
Well, definitely it's a lot warmer competing indoors than training outdoors. The main thing that we deal with is really the track team starts competing or conditioning in August and September, and we don't compete until January. So from that standpoint, we're really looking at the big picture that it's PBCs and it's outdoor because there's no indoor conference for us. Then we go from an outdoor 400-meter track to an indoor 200-meter track, where this weekend we went to ETSU is about 280. So the 280, it's nice for the distance athletes. Anything above a 200, you get a nice little conversion. But from a competition standpoint, it's really just getting out there and getting things done.
This is the first season in quite some time that UNCP has sponsored indoor track and field. Talk about what went into adding indoor track and field as a sport here in Pembroke, and what kind of advantages it might give you over the other teams in the Peach Belt Conference heading into the outdoor schedule.
It was just a question when I asked when I was being interviewed for the position that, what would it take to get indoor as a varsity sport, and the answer that I was given was that it's the head coach's decision. So a little bit of lobbying on my end, and here we are with a varsity season. So it definitely, from a recruiting standpoint, it helps out tremendously, saying that you are a well-rounded year-round program from that standpoint. With regards to the conference schools, right now there's only 3 of us in the conference that sponsor indoors. We are slowly lobbying to get an indoor championship, that we might be a couple years down the road with that, but it definitely just gets competitions under their legs, throwing and jumping, so that they're not going from November to, in essence, March without any competition. So it just gives us a couple months jump.
As we said before, you're now about 80% of the way through the indoor regular season. Give us a progress report on both teams, starting with the men.
Starting with the men, definitely not as good as the girls right now. But I think when you graduate an individual like Shaq, that's our star power on the guys' side. We replaced Shaq with a couple, I don't want to say fillers, but just guys that are going to be position players at conference, but maybe not a standout performer right now. So we've got a few freshmen coming in that we're just developing, that are coming from high school where indoor was not a sport, or they didn't train for it until they got to February and March. So it's really just the guys are in developmental phase, and especially getting used to a new coach.
Now talking about the women a little bit as well, a progress report on their season.
When you're breaking school records every week, it's nice when you have 2 seniors like Johnny and Fatima just kind of setting the bar. And again, a lot of it's what we're doing right now on the track is really just off conditioning with very light workouts. Nothing's really ramping up until we get to outdoor, getting ready for PBCs.
Now, you talked a little bit about breaking records. It's the headlines for the women's track and field team. Through the first 4 weeks, they've already logged 6 school records with 1 more regular season meet left. What has impressed you the most about your women's team so far this season?
I think just the fact that we're doing it on very little speed work. So, a lot of people that, since we don't have a conference championship to taper for, so really we're just going through the motions with workouts and everything else. So to do it on more strength-based training, and Coach Ackroth probably shoot me for that one, but we're not doing a lot of hard efforts now, but we're getting the early results. So it is setting the girls team up, and especially those 2 individuals, for the long haul into March, April, and hopefully May.
All right, let's run down the school records that have fallen so far. Johnny Perez broke her own school record in the 60-meter dash in the opening meet of the season. The following week, Gina Cube broke the school record in the high jump, while Fatima Funderburk established a new record in the 200-meter dash. Last week at the Buccaneer Invitational at East Tennessee State, 3 more records were set, with Cube tallying 2,919 points in the pentathlon, Funderburk breaking her 2-week-old record in the 200-meter dash, and the distance medley relay team breaking a 5-year-old mark. Which record is the most impressive to you so far?
I think the 200, because I was doing shuttle runs back and forth to the hotel, but I think Johnny had broken it in the heat that she ran, and then Fatima broke it the next heat. So Johnny had the record for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then Fatima went back and broke it again. So it's just the fact that we're constantly breaking records, and obviously the DMR was a nice thing, especially when we're talking about 2 distance athletes that aren't doing a lot of speed right now. So it's exciting. I think it's building the momentum for even those athletes that aren't competing indoors, that they've got a lot to live up to once we get to outdoors.
Gina Cube already has an NCAA provisional qualifying mark in the high jump this season. Who are some of the athletes on both sides that have a fairly decent chance of making a trip to Kansas in early March for the NCAA Indoor Championships?
We're hoping. Knocking on wood. Johnny Perez is very close as a provisional for the 60 meters. And then we have a freshman male in the 60 hurdles, Christian Sacato, is only 0.07 of a second off the provisional mark for the 60 hurdles, and that's as a freshman. So that's exciting. Those are the two that we're looking at right now.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us. Stay where you are because we have one more segment to go. It's time for our last break here on the Black and Gold Report. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. I'm Cameron Songer, joined once again by UNCP track and field head coach Peter Ormsby. Let's get right back to it. Talking about your coaching staff right now, it's you and 2 assistants, including Patrick Heckroth, who you added to your full-time staff in July. Talk about Patrick's background, what he has brought to your table for both the men's and women's teams so far.
Patrick comes from Valparaiso, Indiana, where he's a GA up there, and he spent 2 years at Fresno State as well. I knew one of his coaches at Fresno, so it was nice to get a glowing recommendation from a previous coach that I knew pretty good. But it's one of those things that it's a new scheme, new everything, so it's taken the kids a little bit of time to get used to his mannerisms and what he does differently, which is not anything different than I think any of us do anyway. So I kind of liken it to when I came in last year. The kids had to get used to me for a year, and we saw results the second year. We're seeing early results, obviously, with the school records now. I'm expecting more stuff next year from that side.
You also welcome back UNCP school record holder Hannah Metzinger to your team, this time as an assistant coach on your staff. What kind of dynamic does Hannah bring to your coaching staff? What kind of improvement have you seen with the throwers since welcoming her back?
Well, I think with Hannah, it was just one of those things that Coach Davis left, very early in the semester. So she was willing to step in and take the role, and the athletes likened it to a previous coach when Coach Davis came in. So it's been a nice fluid transition, and I think she's had a school record broke as well, the indoor weight throw. So it's nice to see school records be broken on all 3 sides of it, and I think the kids relate to her, obviously, since she's still about that age.
We're about 4 months out now from UNCP hosting the 2016 Peach Belt Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships at Dick and Lenore Taylor Track. Talk about the schedule for that event and what types of things that have already gone into preparation so far.
It's a 3-day meet, there's a lot of stuff that's going on and behind the scenes, and we're still putting a couple pieces together for the facility. So we're still, in ordering phase so it's nice to spend money, but pole vault pit to make sure that we can host it, new hurdles, and just a lot of the miscellaneous things that go into hosting a quality meet. And then we're also hosting, for the first time in about 6 years, a home regular season meet Friday, March 4th. So that's a great PBC type preview to make sure we've got everything in place for 6 weeks after that.
Kind of like a dry run, a trial run, and
definitely
kind of see what goes wrong. It seems like it's been a while since UNCP has hosted a home meet. Does it make you nervous at all?
If the home meet goes well, I think the PBCs will go even better. So hopefully I don't have to do too much meet management at either one, and I can actually coach. But we're excited because a lot of the kids that didn't race indoors are going to open up on the March 4th meet. A lot of alumni are already talking about coming back, helping out with both meets. And it's just a different atmosphere. When we have to travel from January to May for outdoor and indoor, it gives us an opportunity to showcase the facility and just showcase what we do when nobody sees us.
And that big meet at the end of the year, what kind of prestige does hosting an event like that give to your program, especially from a recruiting standpoint?
It's huge. I think both Heckroth, myself, and Coach Hannah are already trying to get as many recruits on campus for that weekend, or the March or April, just to showcase the facility. It's only 2 years old, and with all the new pieces that we're putting in place, it's going to look like a gym for the PBC. And I think us and Montevallo are probably the only 2 schools in the conference with an on-campus facility.
And before we let you go, let's talk about recruiting a little bit more. Obviously, recruiting is an all-year thing, especially for your sport. But what can potential student athletes be doing at this point to get noticed by you and your coaching staff?
We're looking at so many kids. I know, we're signing people from all over the country, and we've actually got a commitment from a girl out in Okinawa, Japan. So that was a nice little thing. But it's contact us first. We're looking at so many people. 1 or 2 may slip through the cracks, but we're going to start looking at juniors now, finish up with this year with the seniors, but there's so many kids and so much talent both in the area, both in the state and across the country, that we're going to miss somebody, but hopefully, them contacting us puts us on their radar going forward.
Now, once the student athletes get on campus, talk a little about the development you've seen from the kids who arrived as freshmen this fall to where they already are right now.
Talking about, like, Logan Ward on the distance side ran a 22nd or more personal best in the 5K this weekend. He's coming from 20 miles a week in high school, now he's up to 50 miles a week. So it's little victories like that that are just, icing on the cake, and he's got so much more room to develop, along with a lot of our other distance kids or sprints kids that, like I said earlier, if they're not training for outdoor until January, February, we start the process about 3 months earlier. That we may not see a lot this year, but obviously going into their sophomore year, they're going to hit it head on.
That's all the time we have. UNCP track and field coach Peter Ormsby, thanks for joining us. We're all out of time on the Black and Gold Report. For our entire crew, I'm Cameron Sauger. Thanks for watching, and until next time, go Braves.